Hi, I'm Tracy Cox and this is Sex Talk, and today I'm going to tell you what to do if your marriage is sex starved. When was the last time you did the deed? Can't remember or don't want to, and definitely don't want to talk about it? This is for you. 7 simple steps to get your mojo back. Step 1. It seems obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. You need to confront the problem. Tackle any anger issues. If there's lots of anger and resentment over sex on either side, call a truce. Force yourselves to talk about what's going on. You can't shut couples up talking about sex when it's going great, and then when you really need to talk, when problems hit, you're both quieter than a 3-year-old discovering their mum's makeup stash. Hurt, tense, anxious. Talking under these circumstances isn't fun, but talk you must. Approach it as a couple's problem that's no one's fault. No one's right or wrong. The person who wants sex more isn't sexier or better. The person who wants sex less isn't frigid or the one with the problem. If there's a desire mismatch, one of you feels rejected, the other feels pressured and hassled. It doesn't feel great on either side. Step 2, set realistic aims together. Now for this, you need to embrace the dreaded C word, compromise. The high desire person decides on the least amount of sex per fortnight they'd be happy with. The low desire person decides on the most often they'd be willing to do it. Then you choose the number in the middle of the two. Talk about what you'd like to do in the sex sessions. Say what you most like and least like, focusing more on the positives than the negatives. Talk about when you did have great sex. What made it work when it worked? Don't expect it to be solved overnight. After the first honest chat, couples often feel so liberated, uplifted and relieved, it feels like everything is fixed already just by talking. You have tackled the hardest part, admitting there's a problem, but there's still a little way to go before you start to see real results in the bedroom. Step 3, get fit for sex. Look the best you've ever looked. Hands up who needs to lose weight. The slimmer you are, the higher your self-esteem and the sexier you feel. Almost all people report an increase in their sex drive after losing as little as 5 pounds. So move. Exercise also boosts libido levels. It makes you feel and look better and often gets you unstuck in other ways. If you want to change someone's mind in an argument, get them to move from whatever position they're in. Changing position opens them to new ideas, so the same applies to your relationship. Get up off the sofa and go for a walk together rather than watch TV. Wake up and go for a run or go to the gym rather than slob around drinking coffee. Get a medical. Tackle any chronic issues that interfere with sex. Migraines, back pain, a dodgy knee. See what can be done to ease the symptoms. Any sexual problems like erection difficulties, vaginal dryness, painful sex, your doctor can help you with these too or refer you to a specialist. And yes, you can talk to your doctor about this. It's an easy choice, slight embarrassment or a lifetime of good sex. What would you prefer? Take all the medication you regularly take into the doctor with you and ask if they could be affecting your sex drive. Antidepressants, blood pressure pills, the contraceptive pill, they are all culprits. So ask for alternatives. Consider switching to contraception that doesn't involve hormones, maybe condoms, IUD or a diaphragm. Step 4, set up a sex schedule. Make dates for sex. Don't just wait for it to happen. Find the whole idea of planning sex deeply off-putting. Do you expect to turn up to the best restaurant in town without making a booking? No. Does it put you off going because you booked, just because you know it's going to happen? No, quite the opposite. So what is the problem with planning sex? Plan for it just as you would any big night out. Just as you try out new restaurants, try out new sex styles, techniques and experiences. Step 5, I want you to act on a mere flicker of lust. You sort of wouldn't mind if you had sex? Don't just ponder the thought, pounce on it and do it as soon as you can. Studies show the more time that passes between having an idea and following up on it, the more likely you are to lose motivation. Now, I'm not saying you should burst into your partner's board meeting and drag him out by the tie, but don't let things like the dishes or the meal being ready or I'll just answer an email first get in the way. Think of your sex life as a bank account. You need to make regular deposits to keep the balance healthy. If you've just come back from a lovely dirty weekend away, kids happily tucked up at grandma's, the balance is nicely topped up. Saying no the night you get back isn't going to cause any problems. But if you haven't made a deposit for 6 weeks or more, that balance is getting dangerously low. Step 6, be the one to make the first move. Now, whoever wants sex the least needs to be the one instigating sex. The low desire person sets the frequency because it's only when they give the thumbs up that sex actually happens. Now, if this is you, turn the tables to be the one who suggests sex rather than rejects it and watch the dynamics change dramatically. Being the one to want sex, the one asking for it, instantly makes you feel sexier and more powerful, in charge. Your partner, used to being knocked back, is both surprised and hopefully thrilled. Their ego gets a much needed boost. Maybe you fancy them after all. Maybe you like having sex with them. Maybe, just maybe, you want them as much as they want you. It's win-win for both, so try it. Now, when you do, make sure the move isn't so subtle that they actually miss it, especially if your partner isn't used to you initiating. What seems abundantly clear to you may be misinterpreted by them. And if you're both shy or the sex situation is incredibly tense, everything is likely to be misread negatively. So have an agreed private code that says sex tonight. Put 2 different magnets on the fridge and place yours high if you're up for it. Help each other get in the mood. Tune in to when you both most feel like it. Is it after a good night out and a few drinks? Is it after a good chat and a movie? Be honest and say what you need. Keep it light and just simply say, if you pour me a big glass of wine and massage my shoulders, I'll be a much surer thing. Or, can I have a bath for 20 minutes? Then I'll be much more in the mood. Get yourself in the mood. Put on sexy underwear. Run a tried and tested fantasy in your head. Read a sexy book. Do what made you feel sexy the last time around. This sends a signal to your brain. She's going to have sex again, triggering the right physical responses. Step 7, change the way you have sex. The longer you're together, the more efficient you'll be sexually. Sex becomes businesslike and brief. You know each other's triggers and buttons to push, and you press them accordingly. Now, the easiest way to transform your tired techniques is simply to buy a sex book that's packed with practical techniques as a present for the 2 of you. Say it's to keep sex fresh rather than to liven things up. It's a subtle difference, but it's an important one because one implies curiosity, the other boredom. Well, that's all we have time for today, but I hope it helps to get your sex life back on track. Hi YouTube, welcome to Sex Talk. By watching this video, you may have already decided you want to try something new. I'm going to tell you how to do it without scaring him off. So how do you suggest something steamy without scaring him off? There's a perception that women are the ones who react with horror if their partner confesses a desire to do dark, dirty deeds. In reality, it's often men who are most threatened. You asking him to up the erotic ante means you're reversing the traditional sexual roles, him pushing you to be more sexually adventurous, which can be emasculating. It's a bit like guys boasting about how they'd love it if a girl came up to them in a bar and said, "Take me home now." Most men would run like hell if it actually happened. They might not like to admit it, but they secretly think they're meant to be the sexual predator and instigator of kinky things, not you. Plus, there's a certain type of man who will react to any suggestion of spicing up your sex life with disapproval. Women, delicate little petals that we are, aren't supposed to want naughty things, and this man's judgment of you will be rapid and harsh. Happily though, despite all the potential pitfalls, there are ways to have your orgasms and keep him too.
I think the common reaction of a man would, when if a woman suggests to do something different in the bedroom, is running away probably.
I think most men are open to a woman suggesting to do something in the bedroom, as long as it's not too crazy.
Nowadays women have more freedom with that stuff, so I think now it's more acceptable.
Number 1, make it his idea. Any good negotiator will tell you someone is far more open to something if they think the idea came from them. He's always saying he'd love to get his boss back, and you fancy sex somewhere naughty. What better way than to be totally disrespectful and have sex on his boss's desk after hours, as long as you don't get caught. Make it clear you've only ever wanted to do it with him, because his first thought will be, has she already done this with someone else? If you have done it with someone else, tell a white lie. Give the impression he's just awakened an incredibly erotic side of you. Make it clear you're suggesting it because you trust him. You know you won't be judged, and he's made you feel so good about yourself, you feel you can truly open up and tell him anything. This will make it much more about how much you love him and lower the chances of him taking a suggestion to do something new as some sort of criticism. Tell him you're suggesting it because you want to have the best sex life possible. You know all the statistics about couples cheating on each other, and you don't want that to happen to you too. You're trying to make your sex life stay as exciting as possible, so neither of you feel the need to stray. Finally, be aware most men feel threatened by the new breed of sexually confident women. No matter how liberated he is, you have to remember the poor little sausage is just getting over the horrific news that his penis alone often can't give you an orgasm. Most men will enthusiastically welcome exploring your sexual fantasies once their fears are allayed, but it really is crucial for you to present your proposition tenderly and tactfully, rather than assume he's up for anything just because he's a man.
Some men are intimidated by women wanting to have sex with other women.
I mean, if my girlfriend told me, she wanted to have sex with a woman, I'd be I'd be chuffed.
Most men would probably love it if their girlfriends suggest to have sex with another woman.
Say you want to have sex with another woman. Most men love it if you admit to indulging in lusty lesbian fantasies, so why wouldn't he want to take it through to reality? Well, if your partner's not the jealous type and it's a relatively new relationship and you don't mind risking it, go right ahead and suggest it. Not so straightforward for a long-term partner though. For some, monogamy is monogamy, regardless of gender, and you're suddenly in a whole lot of trouble for daring to even entertain such thoughts. Simply asking to do it counts as infidelity for lots of people, and quite a number of men I spoke to said they'd actually prefer their partner to indulge without ever telling them. Controversial view, but something lots of men did tell me. Speaking of which, why are you telling your partner? Are you after his permission? Are you wanting him to join in? Are you wanting him to watch? Or are you simply telling him it's something you're going to do? Is this a one-off experience or something you want to do regularly? All of this you need to have thought through before opening your mouth. Now, when you do, try doing it this way. Broach the idea by telling him you had an incredibly erotic dream last night about you with another woman in whatever scenario you crave. See what reaction you get. It's pretty easy from here to move it into a serious discussion or leave well alone if it doesn't look good.
A threesome would depend on the combination of kind of boy-boy girl or girl-girl-boy.
I think I would probably run away because I didn't know what to do.
Men's reaction to a threesome would depend on whether or not she was talking about a male or a female to join.
To say you need to tread carefully and tactfully when negotiating this one is like reminding you not to turn up with Bride magazine when your girlfriend's just been jilted at the altar. Just because he's always joking about it doesn't mean he really wants to try it. It's macho to think he could handle two women or be cool enough to have another man in his bed. But faced with it happening in reality, all sorts of fears creep in. I have to say, a lot of threesomes break up rather than cement relationships because of the jealousy factor. You'll find a link on screen to my previous threesome advice video that will tell you everything you need to know. What about if you want to try some role play? Acting out a role play is relatively tame compared to threesomes or girl on girl, but it's still a dreaded scenario for many guys. Why? The risk of humiliation is high because you both have to act. I have to say, I've never been able to do one without laughing. Playing the well-hung postman who delivers more than just the mail is great fun if he's confident and the dramatic type. If he's shy, it would be a living hell. Even if he's not and it's you doing the dressing up, fears he'll burst out laughing at the sight of you dressed up as a sexy Wonder Woman, offending you forever, plague him. And that's if you're just suggesting something that's not too out of the ordinary. So choose your moment and make a joke of it initially. Say, a girl at work was chatting to me about how she and her boyfriend dress up and act out scenarios. What do you think about all that? His answer may well be silly or I'd laugh, to which you answer, I'd probably feel silly and laugh too, but it might be fun. How about doctors and nurses? You must have played that as a kid. Once you've let him know it doesn't have to be deadly serious, chances are he'll come around to the idea. By the way, stop the giggles if they do happen by fast forwarding to a particularly raunchy part of the role play. Sensation then should override embarrassment.
I think people find spanking weird, but maybe love it.
I'm kind of not against it, but I'm just not that interested in it. I think it's maybe a step too far.
What if you want him to spank you? Spanking puts one of you in the power position, and because hurting others or letting them hurt you is unacceptable, it's an instant aphrodisiac. We do love what's forbidden. Some men think it's degrading to spank their partner, and it is, if you don't ask for it. But wanting them to spank you is quite another thing. The spectacular success of the whole 50 Shades of Grey trilogy has increased awareness and popularity of things like spanking and bondage, so that helps. But unless your partner's also read the book or the excerpts you casually left earmarked and lying around, you still need to tread carefully. If you're a little nervous about how he'd react if you plonked yourself across his lap and said, "Spank me, I've been a very bad girl," buy a book which has a spanking scene in it. There's tons of erotic fiction out there if you don't fancy 50 Shades, and you can just simply read bits of this out loud to your partner. Now his reaction, interest or disgust will speak volumes. If you don't fancy reading to him, try a movie. A Dangerous Method, starring Keira Knightley, has a spanking scene in it. The Secretary is an art house film that explores the relationship between a sexually dominant man and his submissive secretary. But even if he seems ultra interested in the films, keep it light-hearted to start. If you want to buy a whip, stick to soft whips rather than hard, serious-looking paddles, and silk scarves or stockings rather than dangerously real handcuffs if you fancy tie-up games as well.
A lot of men are open to talking dirty. I think that some are a little hesitant to have phone sex. They feel like it's a little strange.
What if you want to have phone sex or talk dirty? As with anything slightly steamy, be aware that the reaction you get might not be the one you expect. I've had lots of emails from women who say they tried talking dirty and it all went horribly wrong. Some guys lose their erection, others may brand you a slut. Reactions like this leave women feeling confused, like he watches porn all the time and he swears and he carries on with his friends. Why wouldn't he like you talking like that? What is going on? Well, the sort of men who tend to react badly are usually traditional conservative men brought up in a household where sex was dirty and good girls definitely didn't. But even normal men sometimes find it difficult to speak badly to their girlfriends or hear very rude things coming out of her mouth. It seems disrespectful, which is of course why talking dirty and phone sex work a treat. They make us feel sexually uncomfortable, and sometimes this is a good thing. Suggest it by upping your moans and groans generally, then slip in the odd swear word or phrase and see what he does. If he seems to like it, start describing what's happening. "I'm watching you disappear inside me and that is so sexy," things like that. If you want him to talk dirty to you, follow this by whispering, "Tell me what you'd really like to do to me," in his ear. If he looks horrified, give a little giggle to lighten it all up and explain to him that he doesn't have to use swear words or be offensive to be sexy. And he also shouldn't worry if he thinks it sounds cheesy or cliched. Nearly all dirty talk is. If you're having phone sex, you've got an advantage. He can't see you, so you can shamelessly nick stuff from erotic books or lad mags.
Porn can inspire relationships, but I think you shouldn't rely on it.
Women like it as much as men, I think.
Could be a good spice up in the bedroom to use it.
Say you want to watch porn with your partner. Nothing divides opinion quicker than a discussion about pornography. For everyone who considers it a harmless male pursuit or uses it to boost a so-so sex life, there's another self-righteous soul who turns puce at the mere mention of it, thinks the whole thing is wrong, wrong, wrong. And it's not just the grannies kicking up a fuss. I know plenty of young and attractive men and women who have real problems with porn. Women worry because they don't look or act like female fantasy stars, but often he too is threatened by the stars. You envy the breasts, he wants the enormous penis and performance. He may also be shocked by female appreciating good quality pornography because, well, we're not really supposed to be into dirty sex, are we? This is why suggesting you both watch a triple-rated X film together might not be the walk in the park you think it is. If you'd like to test the waters, which I'd strongly advise you do, first bring home some hot R-rated films and watch his reaction. Snuggle up and say, God, this is hot. Are you enjoying this? If you get a nod, say, maybe we should try watching something even naughtier together. What do you think? Choose mild stuff in the first few sessions, then inch your way literally towards hardcore. Don't be alarmed, by the way, if you find yourself enjoying stuff that's not actually aimed at you. Plenty of women love watching lesbian porn without being bisexual or lesbian, and there's a growing number of straight women who massively enjoy watching gay male porn. No prizes for guessing why. The men are way better looking than in straight porn, and the bodies are to die for. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed this week's show.